Well, hi there. Good afternoon. Cindy Dole here, and this is Home Wizards, your radio home for all things home, garden, and life improvement. Thanks for sharing part of your hazy Saturday with us, and this is the show about helping you discover ways to really enjoy those spaces you call home, because I think when you really love the place where you live, you come home and you go, life is pretty darn good, and that's what we love to talk about every Saturday from 2 to 4. So come on up in the next 2 hours. I guarantee you're going to really have a lot of inspiration, and you're probably going to have a longer to-do list, but we like to have to don't lists too, because you have to have some time just to relax, just some me time, right? Well, in the past few weeks, I haven't been in the studio, so Seth, you look so good. Good to see you. Yeah, good to be back. We've been on the road.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
Yeah, we've been on the road because we've been in search of all the cool things. We were at the Go Green Expo, learning about all the energy-efficient things, and then we were at the Pasadena Showcase House, and just this past week, Eric Stromer and I were in Las Vegas, baby, for the K-Biz show, and I can't wait to share all those things with you. In fact, next Saturday, we're going to bring you the new finds, the new must-haves, like appliances and technology and plumbing fixtures and all that stuff. But you can go to the website right now and kind of get a sneak peek at the pictures of what we found. There's a lot of really neat things. In fact, 2011 is really going to be the year about subdued colors, at least in terms of permanent things we're seeing for countertops and flooring. It's kind of different, really more organic and earthy feel. So can't wait to tell you all about it, but go to the photo gallery at cindydole.com and you can get a quick preview, and you can also see it on the Facebook page, all right? Now, coming up on the show today, speaking of the website, I hope you'll email me between today and tomorrow. We're going to be talking a lot about the Pasadena Showcase House today, and you still have a chance to go on us. So email me for your chance to go to the Pasadena Showcase House. You only have, a week from tomorrow, and then that'll be it until next year, and it's such a great house. As you're going to hear from all the guests today, it's really such a laboratory of learning from the inside to the outside, and you go through this place and you go, wow, boy, I've got a lot of work to do. And you get a lot of really cool ideas. So I hope you will email me for a chance to win the tickets and have some fun. So to whet your appetite, we are going to talk with a lot of these folks who have been working up their magic on this home that's really in La Cañada, and it's the creation of the classic architect designer Paul Williams, this English-style home that, believe it or not, was in need of some really big TLC. And so name about 20 or 30 designers who volunteered their time, and they have really put something great together over the past several months. And so we're going to talk with some of them. We're going to hear how the pool house, right outside the great remodeled pool, this is a place not only to shower and change, but to relax, and they did a lot of great stuff to this place. So if you've been thinking of changing out your outdoor living area, we're going to get some really cool ideas from that particular contractor and designer. Speaking of the outdoors, we're also going to find out what you can do with that kind of shady, maybe hilly terrain that you have, that kind of blah, a section of your yard. It's a really magical section, I think, and they've incorporated, a couple of these designers, the sound of water. In fact, they have a stream there, and you can almost hear it right now, can't you? And all these beautiful plants and flowers that are just so soothing, and then some great lighting and all the elements combined. So we're going to get smart from these guys who've done that so masterfully. And then later on, we're going to find out about this indoor space. It's kind of a tiny little breakfast nook. They call it the parlor. And this designer worked his thing in an area that really wasn't very much of anything. And now it's a cool little seating area, kind of hang out and have a cup of coffee. And maybe you have that tiny space inside your house off of the kitchen, don't know what to do with it. And so we're going to get some great ideas. So keep the number handy. It's 888-KFWB 980, 888-539-2980. And remember, as you're listening, you can always go back to the website and listen again. You can now, of course, download the app for free. You have to get that. And then you can take the shows with you on the road as you're cruising around and getting some more ideas. So let's get started to my first guest, who has some really, really fun ideas when it comes to making a magical outdoor yard that has everything from beautiful plants to the sound of water. So as you visit the Showcase House, I think you're going to have several favorites. I mean, it's kind of hard to nail it and say, okay, this was my favorite because, oh my gosh, the garage was great, and oh, I loved the great room, and oh my gosh, the kitchen. It goes on and on. But this was a really favorite garden of mine, and well, you're going to hear a lot about it right now. It's the work in part by Damon Mori, a landscape architect, contractor, and a California nurseryman. And you've seen him on HGTV before. And in fact, when you go to the Showcase House, you'll see him in person right there because these designers love to say hello. So great to have you. You're with Melody Garden Center. Damon, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it.
Are you proud of your space?
I'm very proud of that space.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It's taking a little time to put together, but it's all been well worth it with all the compliments we've received.
Yeah.
Too.
All right. So paint a picture because it's in the back of the house, and was it a hilly area to start out with?
Yes, actually, it was a very. That was one of the biggest challenges. It was all slope basically, and had these majestic oak trees, maybe 50, 60 years plus. Well, that was an advantage, but it's just a lot of clutter. And we had to
like what kind of clutter?
A lot
like
of
toilet seats.
Yeah. No, that was in the pool house that you'll be talking about. No, but just a lot of old-fashioned galvanized sprinkler heads all over the place. I mean, there was a lot of hidden, unwanted treasures that we found in the ground. Yes,
nice.
But the challenge was worth it, and we stepped up, and we really feel proud of what we achieved over there. So.
And when you say old oak trees, I mean, a lot of us can relate to that in Southern California. I mean, they are treasure, right?
Absolutely.
And so you have to protect them. We want to protect them. And so was that tricky to work around them so you aren't shocking the oak trees?
Absolutely. I mean, they just had just a maze of root systems, and just being that they're a very sensitive tree, also watering being an issue too as well. And
I know it's a blessing and a curse, right? You can't water them too much.
No, exactly.
But it's a shady area, and you got to water the other guys.
Yeah. So unfortunately, what you're seeing at the showcase is probably most of it's going to be temporary, at least as far as the plant material, because it's just hard for us to water underneath an oak tree, for years after years. So, but we were able to again, with permission of the homeowner, work with the space and. Introduce a nice water feature as well, and work a lot of color there, as you'll see if you come.
Oh, we will. Yeah. Now, I'm sure that a big question that you always ask, as does any designer, interior or exterior, when you ask your client, the number one question is, how are you going to use this space, right?
Absolutely.
And how were they using it? How did the homeowners, want to use this area?
Yeah. And part of, when we were there, we actually just kind of sat around, watched other people, designers, walking through the space and seeing, how they looked at that space. And it's amazing how pretty much every designer we had seen kind of just walk through casually, just use that transitional space from the upper areas or the upper garden areas to the lower garden areas near the smaller guest house down at the base. So, we were probably one of the few that just kind of stopped, sat there, just kind of took a look at, enjoyed the shade that was there, and just try to look at what the potential was of that space, because we could tell that it had potential. It's just that at that point we weren't completely sure what the potential was. But the homeowners themselves, we never got to talk to them directly, but my assumption was that they just used that to cross again from upper to lower areas, and it
was just leftover space.
Absolutely.
But I mean, now you have it. There's a seating area, right? And it's a destination as well as a place to cross through to get from point A to point B. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It has become a destination point, and that was actually, that was one of our biggest challenges and goals, was to make sure that people would stop there, and not just stop and just kind of look, but stop and maybe rest and enjoy, spaces.
Wait, not be on Twitter and Facebook? What are you talking about?
We've seen a couple of them out there actually on the side, yeah. But no, that's why we created a couple of, we carried an upper sitting area and a lower sitting area, so that we had different observation points into the space itself. So when we designed it with kind of the impact of both a backside and a front side, where you can come in from both sides, because there's a upper and a lower area, where you can get both a different sense of view and sound actually too as well from the water feature. So,
well, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to give us some tips on the kind of plants that we can be thinking of for our shady garden space, whether we have an oak tree or not, and how to make it a destination, because it really is a beautiful multi-sensory garden that was nothing. It was Vinca before, just kind of just a whole lot of nothing. Talking with Damon Mori, who's got some fabulous ideas. You can call in if you have a question, 888-KFWB 980. Cindy Dole, the fun continues. Home Wizards, we're just getting started. See, I can kind of picture Damon Mori with his cowboy boots and guitar, strumming away in his very special stream crossing garden. It's a very magical place on the back hillside area of this year's Pasadena Showcase House. Picture all these majestic 50-year-old oak trees with all this hillside that needed some work, and now he's put this really beautiful shady garden that has terracing into a true destination. So, Damon, thanks for hanging out with us, and you are a nurseryman. And I come from a family of nurserymen with the Melody Garden Center in Chatsworth, right?
Yes, I'm actually 3 generations in my family, yes.
How great. Congratulations. So you've always had a green thumb.
Yeah.
You had to.
Somewhat. That's not what my father says, but yeah.
It's in your blood or something, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, speaking of plants and having a green thumb, here you are. You're looking at this shady area. We're dealing with oak trees. We're dealing with wanting to make it a place where you can sit and relax. What went through your mind? What were you thinking of for plantings?
Well, one of the things was, since it was so dark in there, I was concerned about, trying to get some color and some life, because I noticed all the gardens around us were, they were able to get a lot of color because of the sun.
Oh, getting competitive on us.
Yes, absolutely. It's part of this too, So I looked for a plant material that had maybe reflective surfaces, that had more of what they call variegation, some yellow, maybe and some green in there. Anything that would kind of pull your eye to the space. I pulled in some blue hydrangeas.
Oh, I love the hydrangeas. Yes.
Everybody does it. They think they're fake half the time. But yeah, I brought in that, brought in a lot. I probably brought in maybe 300-400 1-gallon impatiens for color, because they seem to be holding up pretty good up until the gopher got to it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we have a little nuisance. But other than that, we try to pull in a lot of color through, plants like the impatiens. One in particular was a plant called coprosma. It's called a mirror plant. And again, like I said, it has a very reflective surface to it. So when you look at it and the light hits it, a little indirect light, it kind of shimmers, kind of shines.
Like the leaves kind of shine,
absolutely.
Huh? Really?
Yeah, kind of like a gardenia, but it has a little bit of yellow in it, so your eye pulls into that into the foliage real quickly too. So.
And that does well in shade.
It does do well in shade, actually. I've had a lot of success in my own personal business.
And it's called the mirror.
The common name is the mirror plant, yes.
Of impatient.
No, it's not impatient. It's a
separate,
different plant.
Separate.
Yeah.
And so with these different textures and colors, it sounds like with the hydrangea you had blue, right? A pretty kind of a soft blue, and then maybe with some pinks?
Oh, I actually dropped in also, some dwarf calla lilies in there as well that had multiple burgundies, red oranges. I mean, as a lot of I can only translate from what the other visitors are saying, just kind of like a Disneyland.
Yeah.
There's a lot of colors. I mean, just from yellows, oranges to blues, but they all harmonize in the end. I mean, I was very pleased with that. So.
And with the watering, because you said before that it was kind of an outdated irrigation system,
yes.
What did you do to make these to keep these beautiful shade and thirsty plants, I'm guessing, happy
Absolutely.
with the oak trees too?
Absolutely. We installed a drip system so that would just be a very consistent slow drip for the plants, wouldn't affect the oak trees. Did a lot of hard piping with the drip system so that we didn't get a lot of clogging, because there's just so much debris emitted from the oak tree. But we also use mulch there as well, like a bark, so that we can kind of conserve the moisture and keep the moisture down to a very limited level.
So how much water, how often would the homeowner have to water this area?
Well, basically the way we planned it would probably be, because it's drip system, it's slow release. I mean, 4 or 5 minutes a day, but it's not really 4 or 5 minutes a day of like a traditional sprinkler system. Very limited, very limited.
And it's so rich. And did you put some mulch on top to kind of keep them? What did you do on top?
We used a redwood bark. Very natural material, kind of combination of a small and a medium-sized texture to kind of hold it, because there's some slope areas. But I didn't like the larger sizes, because that's a little bit outdated. So we used some medium and some small size, kind of mix them together. It's a nice kind of, I look at a nice texture and complement.
And in terms of the stepping stones, because you have a little walkway, don't you?
Yes, we added. Actually, they had an existing stone that we were trying to match up, which was very difficult because the stone had been there for many years. But we got something similar, and it's got kind of a grayish texture to it, and we put concrete underneath it to stabilize. So now they're nice stepping stones, stepping pads that people can walk to get to our little sitting areas.
And so there's the gray with those pastels.
Yeah, gray, burgundies.
Oh, how pretty.
Great contrast. I mean, stone really, it's amazing how the hardscape and the colors of that work really well with the colors that we use with the plant material. We took that in consideration. So
what would you advise those of us who have a shady garden? I mean, a lot of us kind of feel, oh my gosh, nothing works in a shade garden. How do you get those pops of color?
It's hard. I mean, it's a challenge every day. I mean, when you're running a nursery and you're a contractor, I mean, being in the nursery, I learn a lot too, and I get the same questions every day. It's really, when I look at shade, it's more like indirect light. It's varying shades of indirect light, and the space like we had still gets a little light to support some of the plants that part sunshade exposures.
Like, but how many hours? Like a couple hours dappling? Really?
Yeah, it would be nice if you get like 2 or 3 hours of indirect light. What happens is not necessarily going to lose the plants, but the plants can thin, and you don't get as much color from the plants. But impatiens do really well. I mean, they're not necessarily a permanent thing out where we live here in drier weather, but they can last for a while to give you a little seasonal color.
And if you feed them some vitamins, will that kind of pump them up in spite of things?
Absolutely, absolutely. A little fertilizing. coloring. That's what we did before, and we've been doing that 2 or 3 weeks here into the process of the showcase, and it's really been sustaining the color. And even when the old flowers come up, at least the new ones are just coming right up behind it. So,
but there's something to be said about the foliage without even the blooms, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's so many beautiful shades of green and silvers. So talk about some of those choices that you made.
Yeah, textures are also really important too. I mean, I use the plant called asparagus. And
love asparagus.
Yeah, and it comes in different varieties, and when people hear that, they're kind of like, oh, that seems like such an outdated plant. But the one I use is called retrofractus, and it actually is meant to be more of an upright plant, but when it grows, it gets so long that I actually invert them, put them on their sides, and use them on the waterfall, if you notice, the cascade and kind of lace into the water. So it kind of helps me kind of soften some of the rock work that my partner worked with. But it's actually a plant. It's meant to be it's just trying to be creative sometimes with these plants. But it has a nice texture. It looks kind of like a fern, and so it's a very durable plant too around water.
So it gives the illusion of water spilling into the stream, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Absolutely.
Oh, how
Absolute
nice.
question about it. But yeah, and then there's other plants like Liriopia. It's kind of a grass texture, and since we're working with a lot of rocks, I like that texture of grass foliage. And one called Silver Dragon. It's got a white and kind of a green striping to it, so it really stands out again. As a background kind of plant. So,
are these plants all available pretty much everywhere, or are they kind of more select? Yeah.
Usually they are. I mean, sometimes some of these are patented varieties, like when I referred to the Liriopia Silver Dragon. That's a patented variety. Not all nurseries carry them, but a majority will carry those plants.
Good, good. Talk about the lighting, because I think lighting can be so special, especially when you have, it gets kind of dark pretty early in your shady space, right?
Yeah, I think most of the times we've kind of focused on the daytime, but, I try to tell the homeowners, even when I'm working, outside the showcase, that, nighttime it can be so magical. And, when we looked at the space, actually, my partner was looking at it more today, and I said, we got to look at this at nighttime because we can make this such a romantic setting. And I had the perfect light to do that. And we introduced a new lighting design from a company we work with. And basically, they're like candles on top of a post or a mount, and we use them along the walkway itself. And I was trying to create a real romantic feeling at night. And from what I've gotten from feedback from people that looked at the showcase at night, we've achieved that. So
they're artificial candles.
Yes, they're artificial candles. They look just like it, and a lot of people think it's battery operated, but it's not. We actually wire to a transformer, so you don't have to worry about batteries going out.
So on a timer?
It's on a timer.
I love that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And do they flicker like a candle, like some of these new, battery operated?
No, they don't. But that's the next stage of the design. We've been talking to the lighting company about that, making it a little more realistic.
Or give it the drip look, Well,
so that's also.
We want it. We don't want that's for much, right? We want it all. All right. Well, tell everybody your website so people can see more of the great things that you do.
Well, currently, right now, my partner has his website up, so we're going to have to refer to his.
Okay.
But ours is still in construction right now, so we're working on it. But
it's Melody Garden Center in Chatsworth, and we can find you at the special garden that's in the back of the house, and it's known as the Stream Crossing. And the seating area, what about the seat area? You have a couple of chairs and a nice little table.
Yeah, we had some glazed pots to the upper and the lower sitting areas, and some chairs and decking.
Cool. All right, well, Damon Mori, awesome. I love your space, and thanks for sharing all your ideas with us. I've got to get some of those plants.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
All right, well, coming up next, in fact, later on, we're going to talk to your partner, so don't go in the second hour. We'll be speaking to Steve Sandalis, who created that stream that's the added feature to this whole stream crossing. If you can visualize it, you're going to love it when you hear it. But next, speaking of water, we're going to talk with the contractor developer who put together this amazing pool house. It's a bungalow that's right outside the pool at the Pasadena Showcase House. Maybe you're planning your outdoor living area. We've got all kinds of ideas. Cindy Dole, Home Wizards. The number is 888-KFWB 980 here on KFWB News Talk 980.